Dato' Abdul Rashid Musa, Chief Strategy Officer SIME UMW, Mr. J. Hairil Jeremy Abdullah, Chief Executive of Bank Simpanan Nasional BSN, together with the Honourable Professor Engineer Dr. Farazila binti Yusof, Executive Director of the Centre for Foundation Studies, University of Malaya, with the PASUM's management team. Thank you. Please be seated.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to the forum with the CEOs held in conjunction with the Student Orientation Week MSKP for the 2025-2026 session. Today we are honored to be joined by two highly respected CEOs, Dato' Abdul Rashid Musa, Chief Strategy Officer SIME UMW, Mr. J. Hairil Jeremy Abdullah, Chief Executive of Bank Simpanan Nasional BSN, and Mrs. Nur Hafiza, Chief Financial Officer of Bank Simpanan Nasional BSN.
Before we begin, allow me to introduce Dato' Engineer Abdul Rashid Musa. He is currently serving as the Head of Strategy at SIME UMW and has over 35 years of experience in the automotive industry. He played a pivotal role in developing proton models like the F70 and Iris, and led UMW Aerospace to become a key global supplier to Rolls-Royce. He champions green technology, IR 4.0, and strong academia industry ties. Moving on to the next distinguished panel, Mr. J. Hairil Jeremy Abdullah, Chief Executive of Bank Simpanan Nasional BSN. He has over 20 years of experience in banking, including a term at Bank Negara Malaysia. Mr. J is a chartered accountant with a deep focus on digital transformation, financial inclusion, and empowering the community through BSN's mission of no Malaysians left behind. Together with them on the stage, Madam Wan Melissa Diana, who will be moderating the forum session.
Now, before we proceed, I would like to let everyone know that this session will be conducted in a relaxed and casual manner. There will be also an interactive Q&A session where students will have the chance to ask questions directly to our CEOs. So, if you have something in mind, don't be shy. Just raise your hand when the time is come. Meanwhile, Dr. Shazri Nadia is already on the floor and ready to take your question during the Q&A segment later in this session. Without any more delays, let's begin this exciting session. Passing to you, Puan Melissa.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. It's good to see all of you today. Thank you, MCs, for that warm introduction and also for setting such a fantastic tone for today's session. As someone who was once a student of PASUM, it is a great pleasure for me to be here on stage together with our two distinguished guests. Thank you again for being here. Now, without any more delays, allow me to start the session. Is that okay, Dato'? And Mr. J? Okay.
Yes, okay.
All right, that's good.
Wow.
So, okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Without any more delays, allow me to start the session by addressing my first question to Dato' Abdul Rashid. Dato', could you share your journey from being a student to becoming a head of strategy? Were there any significant moments that shaped your career?
Okay, let me start by sharing experience that, personal experience at Universiti of Malaya. I entered this room, I think two important time actually. Number one, in 1985, bukan nak belajar masa tu, tengok konsert Sudirman with my girlfriend at that time, my wife. We got married in 1989, so I lost the count for 36 years. So she's a student of UM as well. Okay, and my journey in UM started at Asasi Science back in 1982. At that time, actually, Datua, 19, I was probably the 5th or 6th batch, if I'm not mistaken. And during that time, there are 2 years course for Asasi before you enter the faculty. And of course, most important is that I make new friends. It's the first time for me to be away from my family, just like all of you probably today. And also the first time for me to stay in a hostel, because it's quite interesting. From Form 1 to Form 5, I stayed at home. And then I moved to engineering faculty. And I spent 4 years over there doing mechanical engineering. And I shared a story just now. I was a Shell scholar. At that time, not many of us are doing engineering, actually. And it was exciting moments, of course, difficult moment as well. I think the most beautiful one is actually I've met my wife here. So, tapi janganlah motivated nak cari jodoh kat sini, ya. And I really enjoy actually staying in UM so much. And until today, I'm still in touch with the lecturers, my former lecturers, my colleagues, student, classmates, and even seniors and juniors, because we stay here for so long, 6 years, so we know many, many people. And I think in my career, and then I started my career in automotive. Of course, I spent about 35 years doing automotive in various brands. And I enjoy doing engineering. At that time, I don't know what is the actual work as an engineer before. We know the name engineers, but what actually engineers do in day-to-day activities. So that's quite interesting to know. And one thing that I realized is that during that time, when I graduated in 1989, computer just started. We learned about programming. I don't know whether you know this name or not, called Pascal or Fortran 77. So you want to clock in the computer, you have to use something like a punch card. By the time I graduated in 1989, those things are all became obsolete. So you just imagine you need to learn, whatever you have learned became obsolete, and you have to learn new things. So I think here, most important is that you learn how to learn, because out there when you work, you will surely learn a lot more. Much, much more than what you learn in the university. That's very important to understand the concept. Because technology keep evolving, so and things got obsolete very, very fast, especially in engineering areas. Right. That's it.
Thank you, Dato. I see how crucial it is to actually adapt. As you mentioned just now, learn and learn. There is always a room to learn. And there is always a thing to learn. And the second point that I captured is seize opportunities. Especially like you mentioned, your most memorable moment is meeting your wife. So seize the opportunities as well.
So I got 2 scrolls. One is the degree and one more surat nikah. Huh?
Okay, that was a wonderful answer to hear. So, okay, now, Mr. J, what skill or habits have helped you the most in building your career and leading you to where you are today?
Leading me to Dewan, Tunku, Canselor. But first thing first, my journey is not as colorful as Dr. Rashid. I didn't meet my wife here. I wasn't even a student in Universiti Malaya, but I have very high regards for Universiti Malaya, especially the graduates. They are all over the country in leadership position. The Prime Minister of the country today was a student of Universiti Malaya. So you guys are a bunch of very fortunate, and you should be very proud of yourself. First thing first, um, thank you so much for having me here. Sebab saya tak pernah sampai ke Dewan Tunku Canselor ni. I was told by my colleague tadi, you pernah sampai, but I cannot remember. Anyway, congratulations to all of you. I was told this is a room pack of 2,700 of all of you. This is your first journey to a lot more exciting times. So, Tanya, congratulations to being here. This is probably your first week, I was told, so you haven't really got yourself into looking out for jodoh dan sebagainya dah tu. But be mindful, if Datuk can find his jodoh here, I'm sure many of you also. So let me dive into some interesting point. I didn't want to be an accountant. I didn't want to work in a bank when I first started. Just to make sure the record is clear, I wanted to be a pilot. So why do you think I wanted to be a pilot? Ni cerita shock sendiri lah masa sekolah dulu. You know, I always have the opportunity to go to the airport. Bukan nak terbang, tapi nak terima saudara mara. And you know, when you stand, those days it was Subang Airport, that was the international airport, and you stand around waiting for your relatives to appear from the arrival gate. You always see lines of stewardess dan pramugari jalan masuk. So I asked my father at that time, how do I, you know, at least be able to work with these people? He said, you have to be a pilot lah. Dia tak cakap lah, you have to be a steward, you have to be a pilot lah. So this just a joke, just to start. I mean, otherwise it's going to be very dry, what I'm going to share later. But I have, you know, seen a good mixture of how, you know, I was fortunate to be also with very good students when I was in school, and how good students don't necessarily end up with very good careers. So that's, and you would ask why, kan? You kat sekolah belajar pandai, you know, score straight A's, you know, kalau ada 10A nak dapat 11A, kalau ada 11A nak dapat 12A. I was fortunate to be around those people, but when they come out to work, sometimes it is not as successful. So this is me trying, and mind you, you know, I made it a point to actually prepare. That's why I'm with my iPad. This seolah-olah ni Bank Negara punya panelist. That's how serious I take this, because I really want to impart the knowledge to make sure that you guys can capture the essence of what is required when you go out to work. Right? I leave your professor to your studies here. You have a long journey of 4 or 5 years. Tapi when you step out to work, the first or the very important thing that you all must remember, and remember this well, is to communicate well. Always make it a point to communicate well. Sebab if you are able to produce the best ideas, but you cannot communicate that idea, sometimes the best ideas don't get to the surface or to the meeting table. So now, you do not need to be Obama or Churchill or that kind of communicator, but you must be able to communicate concisely and precisely what you have in mind. So yang itu penting. You need to always make sure that you remember this. And orang tanya, boleh ke belajar to communicate well? The answer is yes. It's always yes. And it's not difficult. The reason why I say this is, it is not difficult to master the art of communicating well. And you know, I was in two minds whether I should start with communication or problem solving, critical thinking. Sebab it's intertwined. Now, you know, I have 2 grown-up children. Satu eldest is in his last semester, finishing his accounting and degree. I didn't force him. Dia nak sangat jadi accountant. Not sure why. He's got a living legend here that he shouldn't emulate. But anyways, he's in his last semester. And my second one is also in her first year doing economics. Dia kalau balik, kalau kat dinner table ni, complain je, complain manjang, right? Ranting. So sometimes I would like to ask them to take a pause. Tolong switch to a solution mode. So when you are on a ranting mode, complain mode, to switch to a solution mode, it is a very hard thing to do. You have to rewire your entire brain to think about solutions. So this is the thing, when you go out to work satu hari nanti, you will find a lot of people and they are very good at escalating problems. Problems. Memang pandai complain. But there are very few people who will come to the meeting table and think of solution. So my advice to you guys is choose to be the very few, because the very few of you will make a very big difference. And that is why having that critical thinking mindset, again, it is not difficult. It is something that you have to consciously tell yourself, what is the solution? How do you solve problems? So always go on that mode, supaya you can be the very few that can make a difference to the meeting table. So these are some of the things that I would like to share with all of you. Number 3 is prepare, and always prepare. Make sure you prepare macam you nak sit for exam, right? So when you sit for your exams, you prepare, you go to the library. Sekarang tak payah pergi library lah, chat GPT lah, Gemini lah dan sebagainya. You can do all that, but prepare. Now when you go out to work one day, do the same thing. Jangan kata, cukuplah, aku dah sampai ke Dewan Tunku Canselor, aku dah graduate, aku tak nak lagi tengok buku-buku tu, cukuplah, penat. Don't do that. Make sure you go into every meeting well prepared. Now it's not difficult these days to be well prepared. You have a lot of tools. Berbanding dengan masa zaman saya, mungkin datuk senior sikit lah. Tapi masa tu kita kena pergi, senior banyak. Kita kena pergi library, kita kena cari bahan-bahan rujukan. Hari ini is at your fingertips. So prepare well so that when you go into meeting, so this is the difference. If you prepare well, tak kisahlah apa agenda meeting tu pun, make sure you read up, you prepare yourself seolah-olah you nak buat exam. So this is the difference. In that meeting room nanti, there will be ramai, 8 daripada 10 orang yang are there to only receive. There are going to be 2 person in that room that would be contributing. Be that 2%. And how do you think this 2% can contribute? Because this 2% has prepared well for the meeting. So remember these 3 things in life. When you go out to work, insyaAllah you will do well. And this is very, very crucial. Now I know I'm taking a bit of time, but I would probably like to finish with some traits. Earlier, the 3 skill sets are important. Why do I pick the 3 skill sets? Mind you, I've done some research. This is a research of friends that I know that have done very well in school, but did not do very well at work. And this is also a research of my career, in my working career, of people that I know with brilliant ideas yang menakjubkan, tetapi bila sampai di tempat yang sepatutnya dia sampaikan tu, dia tak boleh sampaikan idea tu. So communication is very, very key. So don't forget that. Train yourself to communicate well. Now the traits that I would like to start all of you with is this. Always remember to be humble. Humility is key to every success. Jangan kita anggap kita ni dah pandai, ada lagi orang yang lagi pandai. Jangan kita anggap kita ni dah berjaya, ada orang yang lagi berjaya. Jangan kita anggap kita ni dah kaya, ada orang yang lagi kaya. Always remember to be humble. Because when you set yourself to be humble, you are wired differently. Your perspective of things berbeza dengan orang yang takbur dengan sombong ni. Sebab when you are humble, you always are inquisitive. You always want to know, kenapa ya? Kenapa ya? You know? And that's how you set yourself to wanting to learn a lot more. So remember to be humble, remember to have humility, remember to want to learn a lot more. Jangan kita anggap kita dah dapat first class degree, kita dah paling pandai. Mana ada lagi first class degree yang lagi hebat selain daripada first class degree dekat Universiti Malaya ni. Jangan kita berfikiran macam tu sebab the journey in the working life is a lot different. Now, number 2 is be confident. Be confident ni is satu perkataan yang sangat klise lah. Macam mana nak be confident? Cakap senang lah. So confidence comes from experience, knowledge. Macam Datuk tadi cakap, he started with Pascal. Datuk, masa Pascal tu ada Pac-Man kan? Pac-Man tu sama-sama Pac-Man lah tu. Ada orang tak tahu Pac-Man. And technology has evolved. Imagine you graduating in computer science, zaman Dr. Rashid dulu, a lot of that syllabus that you have may not be relevant already today. So if you have stopped learning after you graduated in 1989 tu, 99, yang isteri kekal lah. Tapi the technology has moved, has advanced in such a dramatic way, you won't believe it. Right? In fact, some of you, if you want an advice, don't be a banker, be a technologist, because everything else will be technology after this. So this is, this is why it is important to continue learning. Don't stop after you graduate. Learn every day. Read at least 30 minutes a day. That's the practice I do. Tak kisahlah you baca apa pun. Baca something. Read for 30 minutes. Be inquisitive. Tanya, apakah kesudahan? Have that mental thought in you that says, after you read for 30 minutes, what is the conclusion that you will make? Tak kisahlah dia buat pie ke, dia buat roti ke, tak kisah. Anything. But read and ask yourself, what have I read? What can I digest? What is the conclusion? So those are things that I think is crucial. At some point in your working life, you will be a leader. Now, it's very important to be a very authentic leader. Maksudnya, be yourself, be genuine, don't be pretentious. Sebab pretending and being pretentious can only take you to up to certain level. After that, you would want to go home and feel good about it. You tak nak balik rumah, you fikir besok pagi I kena jadi orang macam mana ya. Lepas tu another day kena jadi orang macam mana ya. So you cannot be a good leader if you are not authentic, if you're not genuine. So remember all these traits. And last, before I pass it back to Wan, sorry to have taken a bit of time, but this is a very important thing, guys. Ingat pesanan penaja ni. Always believe in teamwork. Always believe in teamwork. Now, you must have heard this saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go in a team. Now, I have a different narrative to that. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go faster and further, go in a team. Now, you guys are all, some of you are science matriculation students. Let's do a bit of science here in sports, right? Who are, show of hands, sports people in the room? Tak ada. Semua nak masuk UM nerd kot. Who do you think is the fastest runner in the world today, up to today, holding the 100 meters record? Usain Bolt, 9.58 second. Darab 4, quickly, dia malukan UM, berapa? 38.32, you lambat. Tapi ada kira dah awal-awal, tu tak achieve lah. Now, guess what? This is the fastest man on earth running 100 meters in 9.58 seconds. If he sustained the 100 meters for 400 meters, darab 4 lah, 38.32 seconds. guess what is the record for 4 times 100 meters the world today? 36 something for men. Now you just imagine, this is Usain Bolt running at the same pace for the next 300 meters in 9.58 seconds. He will only clock 38 seconds. But in a 4 times 100, yang termasuk, this is, by the way, Jamaica is the holder of the record. And all his other colleagues, not Usain Bolt, ran 4 times 100 in 36 seconds. So that is, I mean, of course, if you want to go more into science, ada starting block, dia naik, dah lambat sikit dan sebagainya. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if all of us come together, we can definitely achieve more. So that is what believing in teamwork is all about. So that's how I would conclude for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. J. Khairil. Thank you, Mr. J, for outlining the skills and habits that have been an instrumental in your career growth, which I believe it is grounded by your research and experience. So let me highlight this again to all the students here. Just quickly, I'll do this quickly. The first one is to master the skill of communication, and you need to consciously select your circle. You need to be prepared. You need to be humble, and be yourself, and finally to be confident. Okay, then let's move on to the second segment, shall we? I would like to, I think we would like to hear from the students. Then to facilitate this interactive segment, I would like to invite my co-moderator, Dr. Shazrin Nadia, who will be handling the next part of the session from the floor. Dr. Shazrin Nadia, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Puan Melissa, both Datuk Rashid and also Mr. J. Khairi for the meaningful experience just now. It's interesting to know that your journey and your value shape your career, and I believe many of us can take something useful from what they said. Okay, let's move on to the next part of our session, which is we want to hear from you, the students. Okay, not be afraid. This question has been selected and compiled based on the thoughts and concerns many of you has been expressed. So let's get started with our first student. Your question, and please introduce your name.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. First of all, my name is Sheikh Ahmad Amshar, and I'm from a Life Science program. So my question is, when you were our age, did you already know what career path you wanted to pursue? Or did it change over time? That's it.
Untuk siapa?
You can start.
Me, okay. Tapi from life science. Okay. When I started Asasi Science, there are two courses at that time. One is physical and one is hayat at that time. So dua je. So yang physical nak jadi engineer, yang hayat nak jadi doktor at that time. Tak ada other aspiration. But then when you enter the faculty, then you realize that there are 4 engineering courses: civil, mechanical, electrical, and chemical. Right? So at that time, honestly, I don't know what to become. Right? So what type of engineer, as I said, and what discipline of engineering that I want to choose. I don't know. So along the way, when you discuss with your seniors, then I think you can make up your mind. So demand in today's market, right? Previously, a lot of mechanical and civil. But today, I think more about electrical and chemical. The demand for electrical and chemical more. Example, in cars. Last time, there are more mechanical parts and components in building a car. But today, a lot of electrical electronics and even software in developing a new car. EV car and so on. Jadi things have changed. And why chemical is important, there's a lot of so-called green technology developed from chemical engineering areas and field. So that's my answer to that. Even though you know whether you want to become an engineer, but you need to understand what disciplines. So current market is more about electrical, electronics, and also chemical because of the demand and needs for industry. Even though I'm a mechanical engineer, along the way, I have to learn a lot about other disciplines because in building a car, you also need to know electrical and electronics. Because in one car, there are 1.2 kilometers of wire and hundreds of computer programmings as well, you know, and chips and so on. There's a lot of things. So you cannot, in work, you cannot just use one field of engineering specialty to build a product. So you need to also work across a different field to build a final product. Right? That's
Okay.
it.
All right. Thank you, Dato', for your sharing your thoughts. It's good to hear that the careers can evolve over time. So student, you need to see the current as well. Okay? Tak semestinya you nak mechanical, tapi you akan jadi mechanical. You tengok current as well. Okay. Now let's hear another question for the next student. Wait. Okay. Yes, please. Introduce your name and what course you are taken.
Hello. Assalamualaikum Encik Rashid and also Dato'. My name is Muaz Jauhari. I'm studying physical science here. I only have one question for the both of you. Obviously, you have amazing careers in your belt. So I want to ask, how do you manage your time between your personal life and also your work, your career? And when things get busy, how do you manage it? That's all.
Thank you for that question. Actually, until now, I'm not sure how to do it. It's tough. The demand of work is sometimes you know, work can be very overwhelming. You come back home and you say, okay, it's time for the family, switched off. And then you get a WhatsApp. Dapat WhatsApp pula daripada CFO. By the way, Bank Simpanan National CFO, Puan Hafiza is here also. She's an alumni of UM, so you guys can speak to her later. And then, you know, you are back to working mode. And then it goes off again and you want to spend that time with your family and sebagainya. But this is how I think we need to be able to prioritize things in life, right? So, you know, it is very unfortunate that at certain level of seniority, you carry that responsibility waktu tidur ke, waktu you mandi ke, waktu you dekat office ke, you carry that responsibility. And you cannot let that responsibility go away. But as you progress in a day, in a week, in a month, there is always that priority that you have to always know, right? You are responsible as a father, you are responsible, I mean, you, not you, us. We are responsible as a father, we are responsible as a husband. We are also responsible in my capacity, in Dato' capacity, in our current position, right? And with this current position, we do have a lot of responsibility to, in my case, the bank, and I think in Dato's case, the organization which is in right now, SIME. So, but at home, you are also a father, you are also a husband. And that priority must always be very clear, right? So at home, you know, we have developed the skills when your wife speaks to you, you are very attentive, focus. Dengar tak dengar, belakang kira. Pandang muka dia, fokus, jangan pandang benda lain, terutama perempuan lain. Right? Pandang muka dia je. Cakap masuk kiri keluar kanan, apa benda yang merepek ni, ay, tolonglah. Tak apa, fokus kat dia. And then when your children comes to you, they are again your priority, right? So it is that spacing out, that prioritizing things, and always knowing where do you put things first. That is a very important skill set also to acquire in life, not just in working environment.
So you want to add on?
Okay, Dato', you have your opinion on that?
Okay, saya tua sikit so mungkin ada different way. Of course, I have grown-up children now. My youngest son is already 30. My daughter 35. Now I ada cucu. I dah ada cucu seorang. Okay. The way I do it, I'm not a golfer, so I will not spend time at the golf course. So normally my time during daytime, kalau Monday to Friday, weekdays memang I'll be busy at work and my wife, my family pun tak kacau. I'll be focusing on my work until night time sometimes. But I will make sure that Saturday and Sundays I will maximize my time with my family, like quality time with my family. All right. And try to create an event with the family. In fact, now in the office as well, so they are introducing the work-life balance at SIME. So there are 10 stories building dekat Arada Mansara. One of the floors actually allocated for gymnasium. Where you can have your, exercising. You tak sempat nak balik rumah, traffic jam. Rather than wasting your time in the traffic, but as well as spend the time in the gymnasium. So dah lepas tu traffic dah clear, then only go home. So you need to find a way. Of course, you have different challenges depending if you have a small family, then okay. If you have a big family, then it could be quite challenging as well. And during weekends, I will run the errands with my wife lah. Pergi pasar ke, pergi apa ke, you arrange that time. Most important is that you must be disciplined. Sebenarnya penting. Kita as Muslim ni day to day quite easy to be disciplined. Sebab kena bangun subuh. As a student as well, you can manage your time from that. Daripada subuh pergi ke Zuhur, apa yang nak buat, Zuhur ke Asar, apa yang nak buat, Asar ke Maghrib nak buat, and even beyond that as well. So it's easy sebenarnya. So you need to be, orang kata, efficient in managing your time lah. Don't waste time. Saya punya personal, I tak kata benda ni betul atau tak. Don't spend much time on just, orang kata, social media so much. I spend more time, a lot of reading news. Because I need to keep myself updated with the latest technology. I'm making strategy for time MW, talking about the future transportation mode, flying cars, whatnot. I need to understand that, how batteries evolve, Jadi banyak benda kena belajar. Because things, as I said, got obsolete very, very fast. As Ms. DJ mentioned, easier now to learn. Don't have to go to the library. You just open jangan buka TikTok lah kan. You go and search for the knowledge that you need to learn. That's how you spend your time at work and enjoy doing what they're doing. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Alright, we have one more final question. Since Datuk bercakap pasal TikTok, media social, and final question is something especially relevant in today in digital world. Yang mana student kita have been curious, I think a lot of students curious, as they are part of Gen Alpha. Betul tak you guys Gen Alpha? Oh, salah. Then Gen Z. Okay. Terima kasih. Betulkan saya. Okay, you guys are Gen Z. So, I think these students have grown up entirely in digital age. Betul? Ada siapa yang tak ada account TikTok lagi kat sini? Oh, ada. 1, 2. Adalah juga. Okay, IG, Instagram. Siapa yang tak ada? Oh, ada seorang yang tak ada. Yes, baca news. Okay, macam Datuk cakap. Okay, it's very good. Alright, this question memang related on this one. Okay, siapa tadi? Alright, okay, wait.
Hi, my name is Arisa Rehana and I'm taking Asasi Social Science. And like what the Akan said just now, we post a lot of things on TikTok, like dumb trends and stuff. So my question is, do companies look at what we post on social media? And if so, how should we manage our digital image professionally? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually a fantastic question. Let me tell you what I do on my free time. I actually read our own social media, because if there are customers that are not happy, that's the first place they go and they will complain. So I remember this conversation I had with my head of comms, and he said, look, we need to get some pulse check. We need to go and hire a consultant to check whether we are doing well, what's our service standard, etc., etc. And I told her in a blip, tak payah. You check je kita punya Facebook wall. Buka IG, komplain semua merata dalam tu. All you need to do is, whether you want, haters are haters, you have to filter them out. But there are also genuine complaints in there that you can look out for. This is an era where you cannot live without digital media. You cannot. Unfortunately, kepada sesiapa yang tak ada IG, bukalah. Kepada sesiapa yang tak ada TikTok, bukalah. Sebab dia adalah kemudahan teknologi yang beralih zaman, yang kita kena ada. Tetapi macam mana kita menggunakannya, itu berbeza. So you can have IG, and I tell you, you guys must have heard of KOL. You guys must have heard of influencer. Tak payah belajar rajin-rajin. Jadi influencer je. Gaji beratus-ratus ribu you. So, you know why? Today we are living in a world of contents, right? Everything is contents. Dekat tol pun nak buat content. Orang tengah beratur panjang ni nak buat content. So this is where the era that we live in is different from the era of the past. We have to keep up with technology, but how we use technology, that's very important. So like today, contohnya, when banks do their campaigns, where do you think banks prioritize? Back in the days, how do we do campaigns? There's this thing called, if you guys are later into communication degree or courses, there's this thing called above the line. That means you go radio, you go TV, you go mainstream, you go newspaper dan sebagainya. Then you go below the line now, which is all these other platforms, right? So banks today, in the past, pergi buat dekat TV, buat dekat radio, buat dekat. Hari ini, kebanyakan campaign kita buat is through social media. So you see the shift is happening and will not go back in time, will only go in different ways. So today we work with a lot of, you must have heard of a lot of podcasters, right? You know, you guys should be looking at some of the podcasts. There are some very informative one, and I like, you know, following some of the podcasts because I think they are also good in summarizing news for us. So these are, times have changed. Unfortunately, we have to keep up with it, and it is very important for organization like us, like, you know, I'm sure it's in telco, it's in automotive industry. It's going to be like that, right? And also important, if you are one day a parent, you need to have IG to monitor your children. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Thank you, Mr. J. Okay, Dato', we have one more extra question. Okay, satu je. Okay, ada satu soalan daripada this student. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nimifzal and I have one question. As for your reference, many of us here is straight A students and even straight A plus students. But we didn't manage to procure or secure a scholarship, and that honestly took a toll in our confidence. So my question is, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, even at the top of your career, and how do you deal with it and manage to get back on your feet and strive forward?
Wow. Okay, okay, there are two questions a little bit related. So let me try to also add to the question before. When we want to interview candidates, as you know, when you post something is publicly available, people will know who you are, your behavior, and so that's why be professional, right? remember, it's not about your private life anymore, because when you share your information or whatever you're doing or your opinion, people can judge you. So if you have those unfavorable comments in your FB or whatever, then that can affect your chances for work as well. Careful. So you have to be, number one, be responsible, right? So it can affect negatively and also can affect people positively depending on your comments. All right, so it's important to know that. And then for company, definitely we have our guidelines, right? We are working, for example, for BMW. I cannot advertise car of Proton because we have our own brands, BMW, Toyota, Produa, that's under BMW. Example. So there are certain limitations, even though not ethically wrong, but for the company, they were expecting you to support your own brands, for example. All right, that can be quite sensitive. So that's why in some companies where I work, if you drive different car, you have to park your car outside. You're not driving your brand car. When I was in Proton, other cars have to park outside. But now I'm with BMW, dekat aerospace, if non-group car, it's not BMW, it's not Toyota, it's not Produa, then you have to park outside, you have to walk. Example, those are the expectation from your company. Okay, but imposters. I'm not quite familiar with this term, but people who are trying to behave like others. At the end of the day, your people will meet you in person to know you, yeah. So it will not last, lah. And then the worst part is that impersonating your behavior can be an offense, right? When you declare, when you go for job application or whatnot, you need to sign on that whatever information that give is true and accurate. Not only true, and accurate. So be mindful that it is a legal obligation actually when you put information on public domain. Thank you.
Yeah, Dato', I'll just add on to that one because I think it's important. When you apply for jobs, there's this thing called CV. It's still there, unfortunately. Yang itu belum lagi beralih zaman. You still have to have a CV. Now today we have ChatGPT. ChatGPT can do wonderful CVs for you. But remember, another trait that I forgot to mention earlier is about integrity. Look, I would like to share this thing, right? What qualities do we look for? I'm sure, Dato', you can probably chip in later. What qualities do we look for when we hire? This is probably very important for all of you. To me, I have always believed in this. Attitude over knowledge. Again, attitude over knowledge. Attitude yang macam mana? Be humble, right? Be wanting to learn more, be curious, and all these things are crucial, right? And the other very important one, which beats any other traits any day, is integrity. If you do not have integrity, all else don't matter. Because integrity is the one that makes sure you are able to sustain for a long time. So always remember this. Now, where is the first pulse check when you apply for a job that revolves around your integrity? Kalau CV you is entirely done by ChatGPT, you can pass. So sampailah kat Dato' Rashid, dahsyat ni CV ni. Kita panggil lah interview. Okey lah. Kebetulan interview virtual. Sekarang ada deepfake. Oh, deepfake. Weh, dahsyat Mamat ni. You pass that again. But don't remember, there will be a point, say you pass this interview stage, you got your CV through, you are now hired. You are now employed. Jangan lupa there is that 6 months probation pula. You see, sepandai-pandai tupai melompat, right? You need to be genuine. You need to be you. And that needs to be authenticate. So you need to have that with you, right? It's okay to use tools. ChatGPT is a tool, but it should not replace you, right? So I'm not sure if it relates to the question earlier about impostering, but this is what you need to remember. Use tools to help you, not tools to replace you. Because tools can never replace you, and never let that happen. Always use tools to help you. So use ChatGPT, use Gemini, use DeepSeek, use whatever you want, but help you to construct a CV that you want, right? Not let that create the CV that you do not know what CV is that in the first place, right? When you enter interview, kebanyakan sekarang pandemik dah berlalu, you have to come into a room facing a panel of interviewers. And they can see whether you wrote the CV or not, right? So again, if they caught or if they catch you not writing the CV of your own, that speaks a lot about integrity, you know. That's the first test of integrity. So jangan jatuh dalam perangkap tu. Always remember, be genuine, be authentic, have that authenticity. But remember, integrity checks ni sangat senang. Even when we ask questions during interview, we normally throw scenario-based question. And why do we throw scenario-based question? We won't ask you, macam, adik tadi yang cakap, you're semua straight A's. Kita ni taklah sepandai you all. Nak tanya pasal you all punya pelajaran ni, buat apa? You all know, right? But we will ask questions about scenario. Why do we ask scenario-based questions? Because we want to see how you respond to that questions. And what do you think we are evaluating? We are evaluating two things, attitude and integrity. So remember this, right? So kalau boleh hari ini, kami ni cuba nak sampaikanlah seberapa banyak yang mungkin traits, skills, how do you go about in your working life one day, because all of you will come up and very productive for the country. The country needs you, right? Kita masih muda lagi Datuk, so kita akan terus menyumbang, tetapi you guys will be the future of the country. So this is important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Mr. and Datuk Rashid for your thoughts and to the student who asked the questions. So now we give the floor to the Puan Melissa to continue the session. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dr. Shazri Nadia, for expertly guiding the segment of this session today. I can see that the students are here very eager to ask both of our panelists, but unfortunately we don't have so much time. And I think I managed to cut short the session by moving on to the next question, because you have answered, Mr. J has answered one of the question actually in one of the question. So let's move on to the next question, which I believe it's important for me to ask because I need to know the answer for myself as well. Okay, maybe we'll start with, I'm addressing this question actually to both of you. Maybe we can start with Datuk Rashid first. What are the biggest changes you have seen in your industry recently, especially with the rise of technology and AI?
Okay, I can say firmly, in automotive industry, there are 4 elements that are actually driving the changes. It's called CASE. C for connectivity, A for autonomous, S for sharing, and E for electrification. Right? So you can see that people, even the government, have actually a target to achieve XEV. Right? So XEV stands for that the car is electrified. Why? Okay, ini technical explanation lah. Motor is a very efficient mechanism that can convert electric energy into kinetic energy of more than 90%. But not necessarily battery is good. The motor itself is good, but not necessarily battery. Because battery, you need to do a lot of mining to make batteries. The motor is very efficient. That's why now technology have evolved. I think things keep changing. Last time we have a hybrid, and then people talk about BEV, even FCEV, fuel cell, electric vehicle, and the latest technology available today is called REEV, Range Extender Electric Vehicle, Series Hybrid. Okay, the engine is still there, but it's being used just to charge the battery. You nak charge battery saja. So it's not to drive the wheel. Alright, this is interesting. Normally your Myvi, kalau you see full tank, RM60 kot, and then you can drive about 500 km. Kalau parallel hybrid, okay, hybrid hybrid ada dua, satu parallel, satu series. Parallel hybrid whereby your engine can drive the wheel and your motor also driving the wheel, or combined. Then you can get about 750 kilometer range. But with series hybrid, whereby the engine is used primarily to charge the battery, you can get 900 kilometer. With a bigger battery now, already in the market today, I cannot mention the brand because it's not coming from my company. You know, it can reach even for a full tank, can reach 2,000 kilometers of range. So who needs a BEV? Because that engine itself can be used to charge the battery. So on electrification, autonomous, remember, it's not to take over the control of the car. That's why it's called ADAS. Autonomous Driver Assist System. Alright, in the car, the most important element, safety element in any car, is not the airbag. Airbag is called SRS, Supplementary Restraint System. The most important element in the car for safety is the seat belt. Whether you're seated at the front or at the back, please wear seat belt. Right? And then most important element outside the car, kereta ni dia ada 30,000 komponen. One car got about 30,000 loose components. There's only 4 items that actually are touching the ground. Apa dia? The tires. If your tires are not on the ground, effectively your car is an aeroplane already. So make sure your tires are in good condition, not only for safety, but also for fuel efficiency. So jangan tukar rim, yang penting tukar tayar. Orang muda semua dia fikir nak tukar rim. Alright? Lepas tu seatbelt tak pakai. Lepas tu dia beli yang dekat Brothers tu yang mock. Disable the alarm. So careful. Those are basic things. As I said, the evolution in car driven by 4 things. Case, connectivity, all cars are connected. Actually, when I introduced X70 last time, my past life, I don't tell my wife because they can track. Semua kereta sekarang semua ada traceable. It's a matter of whether you want to know how to do it or not. So, okay lah, sini semua belum kahwin kan. So, it's very dangerous to get your wife to know about that lah. So, that's it. I think that a lot of, we are all involved in technology, right? Everybody driving car, ke motorcycle, ke apa, you can see that changes affecting your day-to-day life as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dato'.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Our end of the world, things have changed dramatically. How many of you have even stepped into a bank branch today? Tak ramai, I think. Mungkin kena beli PIN. PIN pun boleh beli online sekarang. So this technology shift from a banking perspective, at least that's what we do. Benda lain I tak berani cakap lah, otomotif yang mempunyai dekat sini. But if you can generalize things, what is happening in the world right now? The world is moving towards everything being automated, everything being digitalized. Now, you ask this question, will we one day need an accountant? The answer is probably no, right? So what do you do then, right? Because everything else, like, you know, how things have changed. I just give you an example. Mobile app ni semua dah ke belakang dah sebenarnya. You know, today we are talking about even behavior. You know, we know when you walk into a supermarket, what would you likely to buy, right? So the AI mechanism is fantastic. You know, your revenue targets are different, your segment targets are different. The whole strategy that you want to put in place later, if you guys are studying business, it's also different. You cannot use Harvard Business School. Tak boleh cakap pasal Harvard Business School macam tu. Nanti dia marah. But all these old case studies revolve around different dynamics. Hari ini, semua benda dah berubah. The technology has taken over a lot of things. So we have to keep up. That's why I say, bukalah IG, bukalah TikTok, belajarlah benda baru, because itulah yang akan mengambil alih the things that we do today. From a banking perspective, I can tell you today, when you call the contact center, we are already looking into enabling robots to handle simple queries, right? So dia akan ni, tapi orang selalunya masih menyumpah lagi sebab dia kata, bongok lah kau ni, aku tanya soalan lain kau jawab lain. Sebab apa? Sebab Gen AI dia pergi, dia cari dalam database kita, dia tak dapat cari information dia. So we are living, kenapa? We are living in the times of data. Your computing power can only be as great as your data availability. So if you have data today, you must have heard in your schooling time, data is the new oil. Kenapa? Sebab data inilah yang akan menentukan how the future is going to be like, how business is going to be run dan sebagainya. So that's why in whatever field you choose, remember these two things. Technology is going to evolve further. You cannot say, I don't believe in technology. You cannot say that. It's already there, terlambat dah. That's why I am a strong, ni cakap politik sikit, I'm a strong believer of, it's too late for Trump, I'm sorry, right? It's too late for America to be a manufacturing company. Don't quote me, those of you who are here, who are supporter of Trump. Kalau tak ada, alhamdulillah. But it's too late. You know, I was in China early of this year. I saw with my own eyes how China is producing things. You won't believe it. There is no way America could catch up. I'm sorry. It's too late. It's too late for them to rewind time and to be a manufacturing country. Terlambat dah. Sebab China is too competitive. Now, if I were him, I would look for other competitive edge. Tapi malangnya, he's introducing all this tariff dan sebagainya to repeal all that. It will not work in the long run, but that's not, don't believe everything I say. Always do your own checks. Always read and understand what this is. But it's too late. Sebab apa? You think an American guy can sit from 5 to 8 doing what a Chinese guy does? Tak boleh. Dia nak ada dia punya break lah, dia punya human rights lah, dia macam-macam. Right? By the time you fulfill all dia punya rights ni, orang dah produce 10 lah, you baru nak produce 1. Right? So the time has passed. So it's also cultural shift that had happened. So a lot of things are happening in the world. We have to catch up and we have to know. That's why our future lies in all of you. 2,700 yang ada kat sini, tahniah, you guys lah akan membentuk future of this country. But remember all the things we tell you.
Thank you, Dato' and Mr. J. I think it's clear the rapid advancements of AI and technology are not just incremental changes, but also but truly transformative forces. So can I ask both of you one final question? I promise this is the final one, but both of you need to answer the question. Okay. In your opinion, Dato', okay, what industry or technologies are the most exciting areas for innovation now?
I think now towards, I mentioned just now about ESG, the environment, of course, related to environment, because you see the world have limited resources. We need to use it more efficiently. We need to make sure that waste are minimum, because we need to look at not us today, but we're going to leave this world to the future generations, right? So we have 8 billion population, the whole world. Of course, yang bunuh kena perang apa semua ni kan, itu cerita lain. But people who wants to live, and that technology needs to evolve to support bigger population and lesser resources. So that's why many companies now are making it compulsory, even bank now, cerita pasal nak cari bangunan, ada green certificate and so on, is very important. So that we can be more, orang kata, efficient in using whatever resources that the world provides. So that we can support bigger population, provide enough food and green, and reduce the waste that we have. I think that is actually the needs of the future, and also today, in fact, it started today.
Thank you,
Those
Dato'.
innovation is very important. In fact, I can share with you two things that I've done under SIMUMW. We work with UPM. Kita buat keluar called biodegradable hydraulic. The background IP belongs to UPM, so we paid for the development of products. Then the foreground IP belongs to SIMUMW, and we came out with product called biodegradable hydraulic. So if it's leaking hydraulics ni dekat tanah or dekat sungai, it will not be harmful to the marine and so on. So contohnya one example. And we work with many universities. I believe with UM, I'm working on hydrogen, if not mistaken, yes. So there are new areas I think it's important. It's not just about making things better, but more important is survival of the future generation as well. So you new leaders, you have to think about this. And I remember one thing that Prof. Tunku mentioned, I think in this hall, if I'm not mistaken, it was given a challenge to engineering faculty, to resolve the waste issue, because you know how many thousands of tons of waste that we generated every day and how to process this. 2.2 billion tons of waste daily that we're making. Then apa, itu kan sekarang ni ada, probably you've heard of this WTE, pernah dengar tak? Tak dengar, waste to energy. Okay,
I'm happy it's my field, Dato'.
Your field lah. That's why I said chemical, banyak benda field baru ni. It's very, very important in the future. Alright? So that's my take as an engineer lah. Mungkin orang bank tengok benda lain juga. Alright, please.
Maybe you can add in, Mr. J?
Okay, it's very interesting to hear from Dato' yourself, because from an engineering lens, from a science lens, it's always, very forward-looking. So kita punya lens ni, business, services dan sebagainya, similarly catching up in terms of forward-looking. But I think innovation is happening in a very rapid way in the manufacturing sector. Today, manufacturers are constantly thinking about producing more at a faster speed with lesser resources. So remember these three traits that sangkut paut. Produce more, faster, lesser resources. Apakah yang menghubung kaitkan tiga-tiga benda ni? No price for guessing. It's technology. It's automation, it's digitalization dan sebagainya. So this is the era that we live in, including banking, right? I cannot remember the figure, but I think it was someone, whether it was Steve Jobs or someone that predicted. No, it was not Steve Jobs. Who owns Bill Gates? Bill Gates actually predicted that banks will no longer be around. Tapi prediction dia tak berapa betul lah tu, sebab banks are still around. But you just imagine this scenario. Today, if you are able to send money, receive money, tanpa perlu fikir bank apa pun you berhubung dengan, do you need a bank? You don't need a bank, right? You can do everything without needing a bank. So this is why I think Bill Gates had predicted one day banks will not be there. So how are we innovating? We are innovating in that sense, in that structure, to be able to make sure that we are there when there is no bank. So this is the intermediation yang kena tengah berlaku. Tapi to answer that question, I think manufacturing is seeing a very rapid shift in terms of advancement of technology. What I would like to see in a more rapid pace than manufacturing is in the field of health. I think in the field of health, there needs to be a lot more intensity in using technology to help build better healthcare system. Because we are talking about, because of technology, people are living longer, but the healthcare system is not keeping up with people's longevity. So that's one area I personally would like to see improving. that question to answer, in my opinion, I think is the manufacturing sector that is seeing a lot of rapid changes in terms of technology and advancement.
Thank you, Mr. J and Dato'. It's clear that the landscape of innovation is diverse right now from the, like you mentioned, Dato', the intersection between sustainability and technology, and Mr. J, the potential of the digital economy, manufacturing, and also healthcare truly paints a picture where the future is really heading. So I particularly excited to hear, especially when one of the area you mentioned just now, it was my area, so I'm heading the right path currently. And thank you to both of you. I think we are running short of time. I really wish we had more time, as the insights shared by Dato' Rashid and also Mr. J today have been truly valuable and inspiring. Unfortunately, again, we are running out of time, and on behalf of Pusat Asasi Universiti Malaya, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to both of you, Dato' Abdul Rashid Musa and Mr. J. Khairil Jeremy Abdullah, for sharing your time, your wisdom, and your journey with us today. I believe our students are leaving this hall with fresh inspiration and practical guidance that will serve them well in the years ahead. With that, I officially pass the session to the MCs. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you so much to our panelists for such an informative and inspiring discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite Professor Engineer Dr. Farazila binti Yusuf, Executive Director of the Center for Foundation Studies, University Malaya, accompanied by Dr. Norsia binti Hashim and Dr. Nolia Anida Abdullah, to present token of appreciation to our distinguished panelists. To receive token of appreciation. Next, we would like to invite Mr. J. Khairil Jeremy Abdullah to receive token of appreciation. Also invite Madam Wan Melissa Diana to receive token of appreciation. Thank you, Professor Engineer Dr. Farazila binti Yusuf, for the kind presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we bring today's program to a close, it's time to capture some beautiful memories. We kindly invite panelists, moderators, and PASUM's management teams to exit the stage and gather for a group photograph with the students.